Your retirement plan is being rewritten without asking for your permission. And the scariest part is that most people won't realize it until their paycheck, tax bill, or withdrawal strategy suddenly looks different. Somewhere between rising costs, longer lifespans, and a system that quietly assumes you'll figure it out later, the rules around saving for retirement have shifted. Not dramatically, not loudly, but surgically. And that's what makes this moment dangerous and powerful. Because for some people, the changes ahead will act like a turbo boost, compressing years of saving into a short window. For others, those same changes could feel like running on a treadmill that's slowly speeding up while pretending it's standing still. Same machine, very different outcomes. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Retirement no longer rewards effort alone, it rewards timing and awareness. Miss the timing, and even disciplined savers can fall behind. Catch it early, and suddenly options appear where there used to be stress. We're talking about age brackets that matter more than birthdays ever did before, paychecks that quietly redirect money whether you notice or not, tax decisions that feel harmless today but echo for decades. It's like rearranging the furniture in a dark room. Everything technically still fits, but if you move without looking, you're going to stub something important. And yes, there's help built into the system now. But help comes with conditions, sometimes fine print, sometimes trade-offs, sometimes a polite smile that says, "This benefits you, as long as you understand what you're agreeing to." Welcome back to the channel, where we cut through the noise, ditch the panic, and replace confusion with clarity, plus just enough sarcasm to keep things honest. If you care about keeping more of your money, stretching it further, and avoiding retirement regret, you're exactly where you need to be. Stick with me until the end, because one small detail we'll cover could completely change how you think about saving over the next few years. Like subscribe and turn on notifications, your future self will thank you. Today we are talking on the new retirement rules in 2026, Secure 2.0, catch-up limits, and plan changes. Retirement planning used to be simple in theory: work for decades, save what you can, stop working, and hope the math works out. In practice, of course, it's always been messier. Wages don't rise evenly, life shows up uninvited, markets misbehave, and the rules change just often enough to keep everyone slightly off balance. By 2026, those rules aren't just changing around the edges, they're settling into a new shape. The updates flowing out of the Secure 2.0 Act are no longer future promises or half-implemented ideas. They're operational. They're embedded in payroll systems, employer plans, and tax strategies. And whether you're 25, 45, or staring down retirement with a calculator and a raised eyebrow, they affect you. This isn't a story about panic or doom. It's a story about incentives, behavior, and timing, with just enough irony to remind us that the government finally decided to make retirement saving easier by making it more complicated first. Why the retirement system was reworked in the first place. The motivation behind these changes isn't mysterious. Americans are living longer, retiring with less, and increasingly relying on systems that were designed for a different era. Pensions faded quietly. Social Security replaced confidence with cautious optimism, and personal savings became the load-bearing wall of retirement planning, even though many people never got the blueprint. The result is predictable. Large portions of the workforce delay saving, underfund accounts, or cash out early. Others do everything right and still discover that inflation has been lifting weights behind their back. Secure 2.0 is an attempt to correct behavior without lecturing anyone. Instead of saying save more, it quietly changes defaults, nudges participation, and rearranges the tax incentives so that doing the right thing becomes the path of least resistance. It's behavioral economics with a spreadsheet. Catch-up contributions grow up in 2026. For years, catch-up contributions were a polite suggestion for people over 50 who suddenly realized retirement wasn't theoretical anymore. The idea was simple. If you started late or fell behind, here's a little extra room to make it right. By 2026, that little extra room becomes a much larger window, but only for a very specific group. Workers between ages 60 and 63 get access to significantly higher catch-up limits for employer-sponsored plans. Instead of the standard age 50 catch-up, they can contribute the greater of a fixed dollar amount, indexed for inflation, or 150% of the regular catch-up limit. In plain terms, this is the system acknowledging something uncomfortable. The last few working years are often the most financially powerful. Peak earnings, fewer dependents, and a sharper focus on outcomes make this age range uniquely capable of compressing decades of saving into a short sprint. Of course, nothing comes free. The Roth requirement that changes the math. Starting in 2026, most higher-income workers making catch-up contributions must do so as Roth contributions, meaning after-tax dollars. This is where the reaction splits neatly into two camps. On one side are people who see this as a loss. No upfront tax deduction, no immediate relief, just more taxes now. On the other side are planners who see long-term flexibility, tax-free withdrawals, and insulation from future tax increases. Both sides are right depending on timing. The rule quietly shifts the system's philosophy. Instead of rewarding you today for saving, it rewards future you for being patient. It's less about lowering this year's tax bill and more about controlling income decades from now. The sarcasm writes itself. The system is helping you by forcing you to help yourself differently than you expected. Automatic enrollment becomes the default, not the exception. If procrastination were an Olympic sport, retirement saving would be its most decorated event. Secure 2.0 addresses this with the subtlety of a locked door. By 2026, many new employer retirement plans are required to automatically enroll employees. Contributions start modestly, typically between 3% and 10% of pay, and increase gradually over time unless the employee opts out. This isn't accidental. Decades of research show that people stick with defaults. When enrollment requires action, participation lags. When opting out requires action, participation soars. For workers, this means retirement saving happens quietly in the background. For employers, it means compliance and communication challenges. For the system as a whole, it means more people saving earlier, even if they don't feel particularly motivated. You don't have to love the approach to admit it works. Paychecks change before mindsets do. One side effect of automatic enrollment is psychological. People notice their take-home pay before they notice long-term benefits. That initial adjustment can feel irritating, like a subscription you don't remember signing up for. But over time, contribution increases tend to blend into raises and promotions. The money never feels lost because it was never fully felt in the first place. This is one of those moments where the system quietly protects people from themselves while pretending it's just being helpful. Student loans and retirement finally stop competing. For years, younger workers were stuck choosing between paying down student debt and building retirement savings. The math was cruel. Delay retirement saving too long and compounding disappears. Ignore student loans and interest eats everything anyway. Secure 2.0 offers a workaround that becomes far more common by 2026. Employers can now match student loan payments with retirement contributions. Employees pay their loans. Employers fund their retirement account as if those payments were salary deferrals. It's not magic, but it's progress. This change recognizes that financial lives don't unfold in neat chapters. Debt, saving, and investing overlap. By aligning incentives, the system stops punishing people for circumstances that were largely unavoidable. Required minimum distributions lose their bite. Required minimum distributions, or RMDs, have long been the least charming part of retirement. They arrive late, demand action, and punish mistakes with penalties that feel wildly disproportionate to the crime. Secure 2.0 softened this landscape significantly, and by 2026, the changes are fully integrated into planning strategies. The starting age has moved higher, giving retirees more time to control income, manage taxes, and coordinate withdrawals with Social Security. Penalties for missing RMDs have been reduced dramatically, acknowledging that paperwork errors shouldn't feel like moral failures. The message is subtle but important. Retirement income planning is about strategy, not punishment. Roth accounts get a bigger spotlight. Roth accounts were once the quirky cousin of traditional retirement plans, useful but often misunderstood. Under Secure 2.0, they move closer to center stage, with more contributions flowing into Roth buckets, especially catch-up dollars. Tax-free income becomes a larger component of retirement portfolios. That changes how retirees think about brackets, Medicare premiums, and estate planning. Instead of asking, "How much do I need to withdraw?" the better question becomes, "From which bucket should this dollar come?" It's the difference between reacting and orchestrating. Small plan changes that quietly matter a lot. Not all the changes are headline-worthy, but many are deeply practical. Part-time workers gain easier access to employer plans, reflecting the reality of modern employment. Portability improves, reducing the friction when people change jobs. Emergency savings options get layered into retirement plans, acknowledging that financial shocks often derail long-term goals faster than bad investment returns. None of these fixes grab attention on their own. Together, they remove dozens of small obstacles that historically kept people from saving consistently. It's like finally fixing the potholes instead of repainting the sign. Employers are adjusting too, some faster than others. For employers, 2026 represents a shift from optional upgrades to mandatory adaptation. Payroll systems must track eligibility, income thresholds, and Roth requirements with precision. Communication becomes more important because confused employees tend to disengage. Smaller businesses face steeper learning curves but also gain access to expanded credits and incentives. Larger employers benefit from scale but must manage complexity across diverse workforces. The result is uneven implementation at first and a gradual standardization over time. What this means, depending on where you stand. If you're early in your career, these changes work quietly in your favor. Automatic enrollment, loan matching, and earlier participation build habits before motivation ever kicks in. If you're mid-career, the system nudges you toward higher savings rates while subtly shifting tax strategy. The decisions become less about whether to save and more about how. If you're approaching retirement, 2026 is a pivotal moment. Higher catch-up limits create a narrow but powerful opportunity. Roth requirements demand foresight. Withdrawal flexibility rewards planning. And if you're already retired, the reduced pressure around distributions offers breathing room and a chance to rethink income timing. The underlying theme no one talks about. The most important thing Secure 2.0 does isn't raising limits or changing rules. It changes who bears responsibility. Instead of assuming individuals will make perfect choices with imperfect information, the system now assumes imperfection and designs around it. Defaults matter, timing matters, simplicity matters. The irony, of course, is that understanding the system still gives you an advantage. The rules help everyone, but they help the informed much more. Planning isn't optional anymore, it's leverage. By 2026, retirement planning stops being something you get around to. The system is already making decisions on your behalf. The question is whether those decisions align with your goals. Knowing when to lean into Roth contributions, when to exploit catch-up windows, and how to sequence withdrawals becomes leverage, not just knowledge. The difference between reacting and directing often shows up years later, quietly in the form of choices. Work longer or stop earlier, stress or flexibility, control or constraint. A final honest. Take Secure 2.0 doesn't fix everything. It doesn't guarantee comfort or fairness. It doesn't eliminate risk. What it does is shift the odds, slightly, persistently, and in ways that compound over time. The people who benefit most won't necessarily be the highest earners or the most disciplined. They'll be the ones who understand the rules early enough to use them deliberately. Retirement hasn't become easier, it's become more intentional. And in a system that quietly rewards attention, that may be the most valuable currency of all. Thank you for watching and spending your time with us. We covered how the retirement landscape is settling into a new structure, why timing matters more than ever, and how recent changes are quietly reshaping the way people save, contribute, and withdraw money later in life. From higher contribution opportunities at key ages to automatic features that change saving behavior to greater flexibility around taxes and distributions, the message is clear. The rules didn't just change, the strategy did. The biggest takeaway is simple. Retirement success now depends less on guessing and more on understanding how the system nudges your decisions behind the scenes. When you know where those levers are, you can use them to build flexibility, reduce future stress, and keep more control over your money as life evolves. If you found this helpful, support the channel by liking the video, subscribing for more clear and honest financial breakdowns, and sharing this with anyone who's serious about retiring smarter. Drop your questions or experiences in the comments. Your insight helps shape future videos. Until next time, stay informed, stay intentional, and keep building the future you actually want.